The final stage of the 25th edition of the Santos Tour Down Under, and Mark Cavendish on hand to get them started. In a tribute to the history of the race, Schwab Stage 6 is a circuit race around the streets of Adelaide. 20 laps of the circuit, 90 kilometres in total. And the first rider to attack was the man who will go out the winner of the FX King of the Mountains classification, Fergus Browning. He was quickly reeled back in by the peloton before a strong breakaway group of 3 formed at the front. Casper Pedersen from the Quick Step team going through to collect the points at the first of the Zip Track Intermediate Sprints. Cal O'Brien for company from the Jaco Alula team, Olympic Games gold medalist from Paris on the track. And rounding out the trio in front, it was Damien Housen of ARA Australian National Team. One of the locals, a South Australian, in front of family and friends. The peloton not giving them a lot of ground to play with as they went through the FX King of the Mountains points. Damien Housen collecting on one of the smallest climbs in this year's race, a Category 4 climb, but that having no impact on the final winner of the classification. Bahrain Victorious at the front, looking to try and set the stage up for their sprinter, Phil Bauhaus, coming down to the final laps, and it was Luke Plapp at the front who was turning the screws and seeing if they could open up another gap from within the peloton, whilst his teammate, Cal O'Brien, was still heading the breakaway group. Pressure on, coming down towards the dying stages of the race. Those that weren't sprinters looking to see if they could get away from the fast men. Through the second of the Zip Track Intermediate Sprints, the breakaway sharing the prizes this time around. It was Cal O'Brien picking up the maximum points, but the peloton had them within striking distance. Never too far away, there were actions from the main field, including Oscar Onley, before UAE Team Emirates, the team of Jhonatan Narvaez, was bringing the peloton through. Narvaez eventually going on to win the general classification, defending the 9-second lead that he had at the start of the day ahead of Javier Romo. Third place belonging to the Kiwi, Finn Fisher-Black. The final FX King of the Mountains points, and it was Damien Housen. This team, ARA Australia, collecting more points in that classification than any other team, particularly after Zach Marriage and Fergus Browning put in a brilliant performance on stage 1. With 2 laps to go, it was Red Bull-BORA-hansgrohe coming to the front as the breakaway was beginning to split, and it was Casper Pedersen, the Dane from the Quick Step team, the last to survive. Narvaez in the ochre jersey, his objective on Bell Lap, stay up the front and stay out of trouble. And there was trouble. On one of the last corners, there was a fall. Narvaez avoided it. No changes in the time for the general classification. Danny Van Poppel led them through the final corner, and he launched Welsford to stage victory number 3, repeating his performance of a year ago. It was Bryan Coquard in second position, Phil Bauhaus in third place on the stage. Red Bull-BORA-hansgrohe also taking the Zip Track points classification with Sam Welsford. But the biggest prize, that belonged to Jhonatan Narvaez with the ochre jersey, winning the race ahead of Javier Romo and Finn Fisher-Black. Narvaez creating history in the 25th edition of the Santos Tour Down Under.